That's your cue. All right.
There we are.
All right. This is the Tree Advisory Committee meeting, May 11th, starting time 4:01. All right. First thing on the agenda is approval of minutes from April 13th.
I did get some edits from Sue that I will, no problem, that I will change.
Okay,
Yes.
good. Thank you. I'm sorry I'm late. I just didn't get around. I'll move approval of them as they're being corrected right now.
Making a motion?
Yeah, motion.
Okay. Second. All in favor of approving the minutes from our last meeting, say aye. Aye. Minutes approved. There's no one here for public appearances. I do want to just take a moment to introduce ourselves to our newest member, Shannon, our alderperson. So Shannon, do you want to introduce yourself, and then we'll just go around the circle and say who we are.
I'm Shannon Strassman. I'm an alderperson for District 3.
Okay. I'm Sue Feber.
Brandy.
Nice to meet you.
Brendy.
And Carol Brock.
Carol. Okay.
Ann Sawyer.
Linda Brewer.
I'm Anna Healy, pleasure to meet you. Thank you for joining us.
Yes,
We're thrilled to have you.
Thank you. Be nice to. And Gabrielle always gives such great reports.
Oh, really?
Oh
That's
yeah,
awesome.
she always has. She keeps us pretty informed.
Oh, that's
So
great.
I got some big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
Well, all new team members give new opportunities for looking at
Absolutely.
things new and better, and just so we welcome you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
fresh eyes.
Do you have any experiences or knowledge of trees other
No.
than just being a person around trees, huh? Okay.
Yep. That's it.
So you just got assigned.
I did.
Yeah.
We'll take it. We're good.
Yep, that I would have answered the same about 15 years ago.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I get to learn something new, so.
Hey.
Okay, so,
I can just join.
oh, great.
Okay, good.
This is Craig. Yeah. All right, so,
All right, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, I just joined. Hello.
Hi, thank you for joining us.
Sorry to join remote this time.
That's
you
okay.
want to put your camera on, Craig?
In a moment. Zoom is crashing, so I'm on my phone and I'm trying to reset my computer.
All right.
Well,
Fair enough.
we'll see if I can do it.
All right, so motion to approve the agenda, unless there are any suggested changes.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Seconded. All in favor? Aye. All right. Okay, so the first item on the agenda is a tree preservation ordinance update.
All right, can you guys see me?
Better, do you want me to start? You want to go? The first agenda item is the tree preservation ordinance update.
Yeah. So Linda and I just got off a call with Chad Brecklin, and just to get an update, since the last time we met, we thought we were going to have a pretty quick May move on the tree preservation ordinance, and clearly that didn't quite happen. First of all, he offered his apology to us and to the committee. Basically, he felt like they dropped the ball a little bit on getting city staff together to talk about it when they maybe should have been doing it a little bit earlier. So they didn't get together to talk through their views on it until closer to the April timeframe, at which point they, chatted between each other and had some new updates, and felt like they had some feedback that was some really positive and some a little bit of changes that they're suggesting. The really positive side is that they feel like there's a policy shift that they can make hand in hand with the ordinance that would really enhance what we're doing, where there's kind of they can set some requirements and some culture expectations with developers so that the tree preservation ordinance really does what we want it to, which I think was kind of in our expectations, but also is absolutely necessary to the success of the process. Because if we don't get the city to also adjust how the policies are being implemented, the ordinance isn't going to do as much as we would like it to. So that's the good news, is that they're working kind of hand in hand on this and have some really positive ideas and thoughts for how best to implement it. A couple of the, maybe negatives or caveats that he threw in is, the first is in the ordinance draft we have right now, we have a suggestion for a tree survey of everything that is 6 inches diameter at breast height or greater, which is put there because we found that number in a lot of other ordinances. It's kind of a fairly standard tree survey number, and it's more or less a point of viability, that a tree that's that large is more likely to survive to be an old tree than smaller ones. He said that, from the city perspective, they're going to propose 18 inches, which is quite a big, a foot larger in diameter as the minimum. That's a recommendation from city staff, not necessarily one that we have to propose, but their recommendation of that will go to the city council. So some amount of wiggle room between the 6 and the 18 might end up having to be what we end up with. And then the other thing that they kind of were suggesting changing a little bit is, right now the tree survey requirement that we have in the ordinance would require a certified arborist to do the survey. That's something that we maybe expected to get pushback on, and don't necessarily need it to be a certified arborist. But Linda and I expressed to Chad the concern is, what we don't want is to have a requirement in there, have it be so light that the developer themselves goes out and says, well, these trees look like they're the right size, and then it ends up not being a very helpful survey. So he's pretty confident that they can appropriately enforce the policy that says, it's got to be somebody who actually knows what they're doing the survey, not just a Joe Schmo. But that's a place where we thought we might get pushback, and I think that might be a change that we end up having to make to the ordinance to make it a little bit more palatable to some of the city staff. But all of that culminated in him saying, they would have their policy recommendation ready to go in early June to be referred to the committee of the whole with our ordinance, so that they would have here's the policy suggestion and here's the ordinance, with more of a June timeframe for its referral out to different committees for their input and approval.
So,
Linda, does that sound about right to you? I know you were in that meeting too. I didn't mean to take over and give the whole update, but.
can I ask just one question?
Yeah.
So did Chad want us to go back to committee of the whole, or did he want us to go to common council?
My understanding.
He might have said common council. I might just.
My understanding is the goal right now is that it will be on the common council meeting for June 13th.
Oh, June 13th, okay.
So, but he didn't say that, but that is my understanding. So
He told me that after you dropped off, Linda, and I just, I told him, I was like, I'm not going to keep up with all the dates, and so he's going to send them to me via email so that I'm more confident in them. So I can circulate that if it's different than referred for the 13th packet, but that's the date that he said as well. So
I guess the thing is, it was just a complete surprise to us because we didn't know what the holdup was. Because we had met with all of the staff members, and all of them have been, like Deanna was on the Plan Commission when we made the presentation. So this is the first time we've heard about an alternative plan to keep trees safe. And so I didn't know about this until yesterday. So I went, and when in doubt, I always go back to literature. And what I found over and over again was recommended by Wisconsin DNR and was recommended by the Arbor Day Foundation is that the best way to protect trees or preserve trees is to have an ordinance. And to me, it makes tons of sense to have a comprehensive policy plan that fits with the ordinance, but it's the ordinance that my understanding is that developers look at when they begin the whole process. So, but together it would be, that makes a lot of sense to me. So
it sounds like it was an okay meeting.
pardon?
It sounds like it was a good meeting.
What did you say?
It sounded like it was a good meeting.
Yes, I mean, I think the way, Craig described it, yes.
Yeah,
I think there's a little bit
It
of
was mixed, I
clarification that you made, Craig, that I thought was very helpful about where this whole process started. Because I think it sounded like they were thinking it was one comment from one alder that started the process. But again, and so, Craig, again, you clarified, why don't you go ahead and...
comprehensive plan. Yeah. But yeah, I will say for the committee that I think Chad was very nice. I'm not quite as confident that he was as positive on the ordinance idea going into the meeting as he seemed to imply. Can you still hear me? Boy, I froze up on the video froze up on my end. Anyways, I got the impression from the first half of our conversation that he was suggesting only policy and no ordinance.
That was my impression.
I thought that pretty confidently, and then I said, I don't think that's going to work. And he said, "Oh, great. Well, we're thinking about doing the ordinance too." So that was a little bit odd, where I got the strong impression the suggestion was like, wait on the ordinance, push it off, don't think about it. And then I was pretty firm. I said, I think this is the time. I don't think putting it off is a good idea. And I was not rude, I don't think, but I was a little bit like, we spent 2 years working on this, and they didn't talk about it together until last month. That's not our fault that they all knew about it. They all knew it was coming. Like, it's a little bit frustrating to me that it took until April for some of these complaints to come up.
I think we're a little bit surprised too, because Chad had talked with the developers and there was nothing, we responded to those questions and there didn't seem to be any big roadblocks with that. So, and we investigated how much it would cost for an arborist to do the survey, and it seems like a pretty minimal fee given cost of development. So those are all things we had looked into before. We responded very positively to Valerie's suggestion that we make we write the proposal in a way that it's pretty basic and flexible, which I believe it is, but that what it does and what we know is that it requires that trees become part of the discussion. Really, that's what it requires. That the Plan Commission and the staff, city staff, know what trees are there and it becomes part of the discussion. So, fleshing it out with policy, it was a policy, not statement, but with a in-writing formal policy makes a lot of sense. And I think that seems to me to fit together, hand in glove. So I'm hoping that's the way they will see it.
Yeah, so I think it was mixed. I think there was some frustration from Linda and I that there was a need for this meeting at all at this stage. But I think the outcome is generally good. Chad's thinking about how to actually implement this. That's key, right? And the end result, I hope, is that, assuming they follow through on that part of it, I think we're in good shape. So.
And any questions about how to implement it has to be done now. This is it, so.
Yeah.
All right.
Any questions from anybody else in the room?
I have a question. When you said some alder, they said, oh, that was some alder. Which alder were they talking about?
Well, I think,
Gabriella
yeah.
That's what I think.
is what he said, but
That's what I think.
I don't think that's factually accurate, though.
Accurate, and as Craig said, I mean, we have in our comprehensive plan the 30% canopy tree cover. We have in 2 formal adoptive plans the requirement that the city develop a tree preservation plan. So we are actually doing what has already been passed as goals policy by the council. So that's what this committee is doing. And then I believe it's Craig who said, let's write a policy now. And that's how it started when it did.
It was actually the comprehensive plan, the last one the city did, that brought it to my attention, because as a committee we reviewed all the tree related parts of that comprehensive plan, and I looked at that part that said like tree preservation ordinance and said, who's going to do that? It kind of has to be us if somebody's going to do it. So
I think maybe part of the confusion may have come in is that Gabriella was the alder for tree advisory at that time, and she was the one that got planning involved. So
yeah, she was definitely instrumental in championing the whole process. So
that may be kind of how some of that.
And she was very helpful.
Yeah.
And I don't mind at all if there's a lot, like it doesn't matter to me who came up with the idea. I wanted them to know that there was just more.
Right.
It wasn't just that we wanted to get it involved, like that there's kind of a source beyond just the committee talking about it. So
That's what I wanted too, that it wasn't a whim. It's based on a lot of foundations.
I just need my memory refreshed. This is just for builders, correct?
yeah, this is in the planning process.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many ordinances. Sometimes I have a hard time, straight, but I just wanted to make sure.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's a fair question that we've gotten quite a few times. The plat process is what would trigger this.
And I think too, when we had this meeting, I don't think we really, I mean, you guys did a really good job of explaining, but I kind of felt like, Gabrielle might have known a little bit better than we did, but I kind of felt like we didn't really realize like what was in part of it, so it was already there. Do you know what I'm saying? And I think we were kind of taken back a little bit, and it was a little bit, it was kind of like one of those things where, I like the fact that, if you have a 200-year-old tree, builders shouldn't be able to just rip it down just because he makes money. But, it just, for me, I just wasn't quite sure of the whole ordinance and what it all entailed, and I was worried that it would have been like maybe a homeowner if something was going on and they're being able to tell them what to do in their own property. And that's where my concern came from too, so it's nice to kind of have it clarified.
Yes. Thank you for the question, and thank you for
Any other questions?
I have comments. I've been on this committee, I don't know, a year and a half maybe. And I know you guys have been working on this for a long time, long before me being here. But when you guys meet with city people and so-and-so likes it, so-and-so likes it, and then it's like, push back. And I just wonder, what the?
I think part of it is staff turnover, to be honest.
I don't know. I come from a different political background in that if I were in this position in another place, I would be calling somebody at the newspaper and saying, look at this crock of junk that the Fitchburg, and I can't imagine how you guys guys feel that have worked on this so long.
It actually,
Frustrating,
the whole
frustrating.
process, for the most part, has been really positive. This caught us off guard, and it might have been one staff member who we didn't meet with one-on-one, who maybe was a part of the committee, I'm not sure, and we had met with her predecessor, and who had helped us a lot through the initial proposal that we made. So I guess.
So you're not frustrated?
I mean, most of the process has really been positive, and the people on the committees, for the most part, the representatives and the volunteers on the committees have been asked great questions. We've made some changes and edits because of that. Great questions and opportunities for us to look up resources that support the draft we have made. So I think the process has been good, and yes, maybe this piece isn't great, but it's new. It's new, and I understand people being cautious. As long as people are straightforward about their concerns, I mean, that's what I ask. But
There was a time when you had met with the city attorney. I don't remember if it was this one or.
yeah, we've met 3 times with her.
And then, it was all good, and then all of a sudden, oh, no, you can't require anything, you can only ask nicely, and then you guys are like, oh, okay, and I'm thinking, what?
Well, but it turned out, I mean, it actually, the first couple times we were kind of confused about how to proceed, and then finally, then when we met the last time, it became very clear, and we made some dramatic changes. Because initially, the tree preservation ordinance was much more comprehensive.
Right.
So when we met with commissions or committees, a lot of times they'd say, "Why aren't you doing more?" And I said, "This is what's been advised to us: is that we need a bare bones ordinance to begin with, and we can build on that. And it makes so much sense, if we have a more comprehensive policy plan to implement it. Makes a lot of sense. And as Valerie said, we can add to it later, once we start, if we need to in the future. And then when we've looked at we just looked again, Craig and I did that Wisconsin DNR recommendation for tree preservation ordinance, and they really, it seemed to me, Craig, that they kind of suggested the same thing that Valerie had suggested to us, that you leave it basic and you leave some flexibility in it. So like Mequon, we looked at their tree preservation ordinance. It's very comprehensive, but they didn't start there, and they've been working there for a long time, and they have a big staff, and the developers know already what to expect from them as a city, and he said they work very well together. So I think that's where we'll be moving in our future, but now I think there's always resistance when there's a little bit of change in a culture, and that's what this is. We all know that trees are much more than decorative, they're essential, and right now our city is in a different place in Mequon. We are having lots of development occurring, we have lots of disruption to our land, so it's really imperative for us to get a tree preservation ordinance on the books, so we don't have great regrets 20 years from now.
Yeah, and I think sometimes too, it takes a little bit of give and take, you can come there, but I do know there's a lot of times, even with our council, we'll have the same meeting, 3-4 times year after year. And eventually we make a decision, but I mean, they've lasted hours just because there's somebody who just doesn't want to do this or would like to see this put in, and then it has to go back to the drawing board and get that put in, and then it gets changed again. So, I do see that quite a bit.
So I guess, and I want to know.
There has been some frustration, but the small frustrations at a time, and then we kind of get used to it. And I think the hope that this will be a positive good that will eventually do more good if we can move it on up is definitely has been enough to keep us going at it. But
so when is the next time staff is supposed to meet on this? Do you know?
I do not. He said soon. I think he said next week was his was what Chad cited, but I don't know.
Oh, okay.
So I think the plan is that the council will get both the ordinance and the policy at the same time.
And so are we supposed to, are we going to be deciding which one we're voting on then? Whether we want to vote on the policy or the ordinance, or we have the
No, the policy and the ordinance would go together. So you'd be voting on the ordinance, and the policy would just be the support for the ordinance, because there's really no vote that needs to happen for the policy. That's like the city staff decision of how to implement it.
Got it.
Okay.
So it's more, the idea of having a draft policy along with it is more just to actually make it a little bit easier to.
So pretty much what they're saying is we have this policy, we would like this ordinance to go with it.
Yeah.
Right?
Or is it like,
I think that's my idea from talking with Chad. Maybe I misunderstand that, but.
or is it like in the legislature where you have the law and then you have the rules? You know, the rule writing comes after, and that would be the
Yeah,
policy.
I think that's
So
a
the
good-
ordinance would be first, and then the policy
I think that's a good,
like
that's a
rule
good.
writing, okay.
Well, and I think the work group, the staff work group, I'm not sure they thought the ordinance had to come first. But I think based on what our understanding of what the need is and what council's already passed, what we have as goals, is that our belief is that the ordinance does have to come first.
Yeah, okay.
But I think it's fantastic to that there would be a policy in place initially.
Yeah, going alongside a policy can only help, so.
Right.
Well, I think we'll be clear from the start then.
Right.
We won't have missteps.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
So,
Okay.
thank you guys very much for doing that.
Yeah, and if there's anything else you have to say now or anytime about what else we could do to help with the process, to help the council with the process, or anything else, please let us know. We want to know. Like I know, it seemed like that just that one page description from the DNR about related exactly to this might be helpful. I mean, I think it's always helpful to have other sources too. So not that you don't trust all of us, but still, it's good to have other sources. So I wonder if that might be helpful for the council to have something brief, but from other resources when they're making decisions. You think so?
Yeah.
Okay, we can figure out.
I think we like
something.
as much information as we can get.
Okay, so let me ask you this, Shannon. Is it better to get that ahead of time or just include that, wait and include it in the packet?
You can include it in the packet.
Okay.
Most of the time,
Okay.
we read majority of the packet.
I'm sure you do. Yeah, okay, all right. So we will look at getting some other things. And I don't know if we had done like facts and frequently asked questions. We've done something like that before too, and I don't know if that would be helpful or not, but yeah, I don't know.
I just got the date updates from Chad that he said he would email to me. So just to confirm, he said they intend to have a policy and ordinance directly referred to our next tree advisory committee meeting in June.
Okay.
Then we'll discuss that, pass it on for the June 13th council meeting
Right.
with council action at their meeting in June 27th.
So council action is June 27th.
Okay.
Based on, that's the timeline he proposed. And that, I think is fine by me. That seems about what I would have expected, given the time frame of having the call with him today. So,
Okay.
but I do appreciate that he got me that email before my update was over, so I could say it out loud to everybody.
Yeah, that's really helpful. Thank you.
Timing worked out.
All right. Okay. I think we'll move on to the next agenda item. All right.
Thank you both.
Thank you. So So the Wisconsin DNR grant opportunities.
Okay, so I put this on the agenda because I just wanted to make everyone aware that part of the part of the Inflation Reduction Act, the IRA, there was more money than we've ever seen before, more federal money available for urban forestry and trees and all the kinds of things this committee works on. There's going to be more money available than has ever been seen ever. So kind of it's shocking. It's like a once in a lifetime opportunity. So, and so that's going to be on top of DNR's typical grant. So the federal government gives it to the Forest Service. The Forest Service is going to give Wisconsin's chunk to the Wisconsin DNR. Some municipalities can apply directly to the Forest Service for this money. We're really not well positioned to do that, so I don't think that's a really smart thing for us to pursue, but I do think that this is the year that we should really start pursuing DNR grant funds again for projects. The thing is that they will pay for projects, they don't pay for staff. So I think it may also be a good opportunity to finally get the position that I'm filling full-time and make it, I think it's a really good argument, a pound-wise, penny-foolish situation, because we really do need staff time to get these projects done. And so that's why I put it on the agenda, is that I am going to start really looking. I already called DNR, and I think the last few years, we've really been laying good groundwork with DNR to make ourselves competitive for these grants. I've gone and presented our program a couple of different times. We've done a lot of good networking things to get ourselves in a good position to be able to take advantage of these opportunities. And so that's something hopefully at our next meeting we can really dig into and have some really solid projects that we're going to apply for grant money to accomplish. But the other part of it, the city, I think, is going to have to probably pony up for more money for staff. So I just wanted to put that out there, because DNR will pay for projects, they don't pay for the people as much, unless they're paying for consultants.
Do you know some projects that you've been doing?
Well, one of the things would be to update our inventory for sure, and to do our urban forestry plan, because we really don't have one. We haven't had one we just haven't had one. So to finally get a solid urban forestry plan, to get a solid inventory, and to probably do some, I'd like to get a little bit more money for tree planting if we could, to do some more planting in our H9 neighborhoods and do some more outreach and education and things of that nature. So we'll see. And DNR does not know when they're getting that federal money or what strings may or may not be attached to it. So that's why I'm like, well, I'm going to right away just apply this year for a regular DNR grant, because we know that process. That's not going to change. So we'll start there and kind of go up, hopefully. So anyway, so I just want to make everyone aware of that and just put it out there that it would behoove us to really take advantage of these kind of one-time cash infusion into urban forestry and really help it move our program forward. I'm not sure how that's inflation reduction, but no. I'm not going to ask.
One of the things that I had thought about when you brought this up a little bit last time is that it strikes me that what we might need, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is to check in with Scott Endel to see what support would be helpful in asking for more staff time here. Because if our position as a committee is to say, hey, we need more staff time, I believe he has to request that as part of his budgetary requests, which means that at some point along the line, we need to talk to him, or somebody on the committee might need to talk to him and say, what steps would you like to see us take that would help you put this in your request, that would make it so that, you can support it before the alders, or what, I think there's maybe not a lot we can do, but I think it might be useful to think about it in those terms, because it's fine to just say we would like it, but I think we need to make sure that we're trying to do whatever needs to be done.
And I have a lot of documentation that I can provide in terms of hours and things that are happening or not happening, what could be happening, all that kind of stuff. I've got a pretty good documentation in terms of, wasn't able to do this, only did this halfway, would like to, you know, from a lot of different perspectives that I can provide as some just information.
I know. And by the way, Mequon has 5 foresters now, which is fairly recent increasing it.
What's
But they
the
have about
population
the
of the
same
city?
size. They're about the same size as us.
Yeah, that was my next thing. How
Yeah.
big is it?
They're very rich too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so we're not asking for 5 full-time foresters, but we need at least one full-time forester.
Why don't we ask for 2 full-time positions?
Well,
Then we can get down to like 1.5.
Yeah.
All right, so you bring up a good point, because the position I feel is urban forester and naturalist, it might be time to break those up. I don't know.
You know, ask for 3 times. I mean, let's ask for 3 times what we think we could get.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's not a bad, you know, a bad scenario, so.
I'm out of town the second half of May, but if somebody would like to kind of take on the reaching out to Scott part, I think that'd be a really useful thing for somebody to do kind of before the next meeting, so we can come with any, like, here's what we need to do. Because I think the reason we didn't get anything approved last time is that it was Gabriella submitted a budget amendment because it wasn't in the original request in the first place.
Yeah.
Maybe it wouldn't have ended up in the mayor's budget regardless, but you know, we're shooting ourselves in the foot if it comes to the budget, and Scott never requested it because we didn't let him know very explicitly that we think it needs to be there.
When do they develop their budget for the next year? July? Okay. Yeah, I feel like I always am.
That's always a better way to go, because I will say, when you do the amendments, I mean, you're working, you're prioritizing who gets what first. And then, you know,
You've got a much smaller amount that has to be divided, and you're able to directly compare this versus that, and it becomes very difficult. So,
Well, I would be happy to meet with him. Does anybody want to, if anybody wants to do that with me, let me know.
I would do it with you depending on when.
Okay.
I'm gonna be gone the next 10 days, but yeah,
I don't think there's any specific time that matters
I just quiet.
so much as before the next meeting. So,
So same population and 5 urban foresters.
Yes.
They have money, they have big lots. Big lots.
No, it's worth looking at their policy online. That's why I found it. It was just do tree preservation policy and just reading it. It's it's very good. And I called and talked to the forester about it just to see, because one of the first questions we got was, can we tell people what to do on their land, on their property? And so the first question I said, so this was months and months ago, I said, have you ever been
years ago.
Huh?
I think it was years
It might have been years ago. I said,
A long time
probably
ago.
was. It probably was a year and a half ago. I said, have you ever been sued? He said, no. He said that the developers know how we do business, and they come to the table together. You know, that's how we do business. And they don't even use parkland credits. They use what do they call it? They call it like conservancy development or conservancy or lot. I mean, they do it differently. They do it, but again, that's evolved over time. That's not where we are right now. But it's a great model to look at.
Do they have the same amount of?
good target at least in our mind to say like that would be the goal state, and I don't think we should go into it expecting 5 foresters, but
And they said,
getting from 1 to 2 would be good, or partial to 2 would be a good start. So
I mean, I know you guys have been trying hard for that what, 0.5? You know, for quite a long time, and it's.
What did you have to say, Brendy? The question was, and not just the population, is it completely developed?
yeah, they are in a different situation than we are. They most of their land's already been developed.
I mean,
So they're protecting, they're doing maintenance, they're doing plantings, and they're on the land that they have.
Because
They're
much of
protecting what they have.
Much of Fitchburg is still farmland.
Right, and I think that's the urgency I feel, is that we're developing so quickly. Again, I don't want us to feel like we made 20 years from now, 40 years from now, some really huge mistakes, so.
And I don't think we should think of and I know what Mequon is, but Fitchburg is, the demographic, economics of this community are pretty good
Yeah.
relative to many places. I wouldn't, not that that isn't very nice, I'm just saying that Fitchburg's pretty good numbers. I've looked at them as from a developer standpoint. The numbers in some of the neighborhoods.
What kind of numbers do you mean? Just
Income.
income, okay. So you're saying we have some rich people in Fitchburg too? Not just
We've got rich people, but we got a lot of poor.
Not just
What
in-
was that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got rich people, but we got a lot of poor too.
We do.
Affluent,
we do.
there's a level of affluence in a lot of Fitchburg,
Yeah,
but there is a mixture.
Yes, there's definitely.
yeah.
Which plays a lot into it, you know.
Absolutely.
I mean, it would be nice to, you know, be able to have more of you.
Well, and I'm thankful for what we are already doing too. I mean, I just think, like with Fish Hatchery Road, I'm like, how did I not find a place for all those beautiful trees? I can't believe, you know, I mean, it's just, I'm really thankful for what the city is already providing. And we want to protect the resources we have, so,
Yes. Awesome.
including our staff.
More staff.
Yeah.
Anna, I have a question.
Sure.
Could you, is it possible for you to break out which parts of your job are naturalist and which parts are?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
That'd be good to know.
Yes, I can.
That would be good to know.
All right.
All right.
And Linda, if I go to a meeting with you, I'll be quiet.
Why? Please don't be quiet. Are you kidding?
I don't like to stick my oar in the water at the wrong times, but I'd be happy to go and listen and try not to say too much.
I was gonna say.
I'd try and say as much as you have on your mind. I think that's the exact reason to have you on that call.
I don't know. It just feels like, I mean, like I said, I'm newish here, and
Well, so
this has been going on and on and on and on, and aren't there other things that this committee could be doing besides
Right.
this ordinance? You know,
No,
it's
you're
like time to,
yes.
yeah,
Fisher Cut Bay.
yeah.
Exactly. Right.
But they're, yeah.
Yes. So we're almost there. Hopefully.
Hopefully, it seemed like a few months ago, it was like, okay, all done, bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
And it's like, no.
I think there's been a lot accomplished. So.
I agree.
And I think we do need to speak out. And if we have questions, then we need to ask them. And we can't be afraid of making mistakes. And if people ask us something we don't know, we can say we don't know and try to get back to them. But I think we shouldn't be afraid to make mistakes. I think we should just, I think we should speak out. Because that's what I saw when with the upgrades to the Fish Hatchery Road, is that people who spoke out about what they felt was really important in that redesign, I mean, that's what the council eventually hears. And really, that's what we have to do. So it's good to speak up.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yes.
All right. Next on the agenda is the 2023 Arbor Day tree planting events recap.
Yes, so I just wanted to give you guys an update on the Arbor Day events that we had. We did, I thought, a nice project with DNR. So in 2020, I'm not sure if I even brought this up because things changed so much. Things changed, like before, you'd write something down before it was dry, everything was changed. But anyway, in 2020, DNR had approached me to do an Arbor Day event with their staff, the DNR Service Center here in town. And we were going to do it in 2020, and then everything sort of got all mixed up, so it didn't really happen. 2021 wasn't a whole lot better. Things just sort of got all, kind of jumbled up. And so this year in February, they contacted me and they're like, we were serious about doing an Arbor Day event. We really do want to do a serious tree planting with you. Can we please do it this year? And I said, well, of course. So the event that we did was on Post Road, we had 40 plus ash trees that were planted between the sidewalk and the private property instead of between the street and the sidewalk. They weren't planted in the terrace. They were planted, I guess, more, kind of almost bordering private property. So there was 40, I think, 3 ash trees we ended up taking down. So it was pretty barren. That is a road that's walked often because there's 2 bus stops on there. So we wanted to get some shade back in there. We wanted to get the beauty back in there. We wanted to get the services that the trees provide back in there. We wanted to do it in the terrace where we knew that was our property and we had control over what was happening. The trick is because the terrace was never planned to have trees in it, it was only 5 feet wide. So to put which is okay for trees if you're careful, right? So we needed to get, we needed bare red trees to plant in there, and we needed to hand dig it and we need to do a careful job. So I was like, okay, if you guys are up for an actual project that's gonna move the needle, that's a lot of work, let's do Post Road. And they said, yeah, let's do it. So I got the trees from a gravel bed from the Dane County, they gave them to me. The Dane County gave me 16 trees, ended up being more than that, but they gave me 16 trees out of their gravel bed that were bare root trees, but they weren't just sticks. Bare root's usually just sticks. They had been growing in the gravel bed for years, so they had a really nice fine root system. So I brought those, and the shop guys helped me a lot, which I really appreciate. They helped me go get the trees. They helped me deliver the trees to Post Road. They helped me get the water. It was great. So anyway, long story longer, we had the trees there. We had all the materials there. The DNR, they hand dug the holes. We got the bare root trees planted. They looked really good, and then we staked them all because you have to stake bare root trees. So it was kind of an interesting project in that it was the first time we've planted bare root trees in the terrace, and it was the first time we've planted a 5-foot terrace, and it was really a nice example of what we could be doing in our H&I neighborhoods, and it didn't cost us anything, so other than staff time.
How tall were the trees?
They're about 1.25 inch caliper, so they're fairly big, and they're I would say 12 to 14 feet tall. So they're decent. So they're decent trees. So if you drive on Post Road, you'll see them. They're all staked. I haven't looked in the last couple days, but they're all staked. And then we had that big storm after Arbor Day, and they all did great. And we've been watering them. So and we did Post Road, and then we did a little bit onto Traceway. So anyway, that was, I thought, and that was happened on Arbor Day. It was a beautiful day. I thought that was a really nice use of resources, a really nice partnership. DNR employees seemed to really enjoy it. And anyway, so that's the kind of stuff I'm really hoping we can do in Arbor Day moving forward as well. We also did Southdale. We planted some trees in Southdale, which was really nice. We did a sugar maple in there. We did a beech tree in there. We'll see how those go. I think it'll be fine, but those are that was our first sugar maple in that neighborhood, our first beech tree over there, so we'll see. They were beautiful going in, and ATC paid for that, so that was kind of nice.
What did?
The American Transmission Company. They gave us a sponsorship for those trees, so it was very nice. So we also put a red bud in over there too. So anyway, so we had that event, and then we did, the other thing I'll just mention is we have a lot of neighborhoods who wanted to do smaller events still, which is fine, and we did, in Hillside Heights, we did shrub plant, we did 2 trees and a bunch of shrubs because that neighborhood wanted some visual and structural barrier between their playground and the pond that's there, so we put some shrubs in, and really, I kind of learned shrubs are great for kids. They're also great for older adults. So I was like, we should do more shrub planting. So we actually did some more shrub planting, at a variety of parks after that. But anyway, so just to recap, Arbor Day, we I thought did a nice job of utilizing resources and really actually getting some things accomplished that were on the list, and in I think a really positive way, and built a lot of partnerships and really helped move things forward, and also just. Arbor Day doesn't have to just be trees. We could also embrace the whole shrub idea, and that's thinking about that moving forward. So anyway, so a lot of wheels got turning. I thought it was a really good, really good Arbor Day. We didn't, again, just because of, for a lot of different reasons, we didn't do our big, event in a community park, and maybe we bring that back next year. But really, I feel like even though, we didn't reserve the park and have, all of our, have a bunch of people come and talk about trees or whatever, I thought it was very productive and really was a great, we really got a lot done. So thank you very much for all your support in getting there, and we'll hopefully just keep that ball rolling. So, any questions or concerns or comments or?
That's great.
Yeah, I was really surprised at the gravel bed trees, how good those fine roots were. I was really impressed.
Wow.
Yeah, it was great. So we'll see. Maybe next year they'll all be dead. I don't think so, but don't think so. But it was good. It was a good. I thought it was a good project, and I felt really comfortable. The trees were great, and so it was like a really good. I felt like everything was in place for a really good experiment that will hopefully turn out great.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
you're
really
welcome.
great.
So, anyway,
Very
so that's-
resourceful.
Yeah, so that's the Arbor Day recap, and next year will be, maybe another big event. I get a little worn out with those big events, but we'll.
Well, Arbor Day only comes once a year.
Yes, I know, yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
Yeah,
that's.
but the time, attention, and creativity to get to collaborate with all these resources for both the plantings and for the labor is
Yeah.
a really big deal.
No, it was great, and
It
I
really
was.
adds to our community.
No, it does, and I was really grateful. Dane County was very nice. They let me come and pick whatever I wanted, basically out of their gravel bed, which I thought was awesome. And I marked them. They dug them for me. We just had to just pick them up. I was like,
That's nice.
It was really nice. It was super nice. I was like, thank you very much, Dane County. And then, in DNR, I wasn't sure. Not everyone likes to dig dirt, but they did a great job. They did. I mean, all morning. So it was great. Yeah.
The shrub thing what you mentioned with the shrubs is really, yeah.
Yes, it was good. And, so we got some planted in Rose Common Park for birds because they put some bluebird houses in, so we put some shrubs in for bird habitat. We got some in the Dolly Conservancy because there's a condo development there that really would like some more screening, so we put native shrubs in there. We also did the Hillside Heights shrubs, and and then we had some volunteers put some shrubs around the Wildwood Kettle. So it was just like, wow, this is kind of a win-win-win. And some of those I got from Dane County, and then, we had to buy some of them, but they were actually not very expensive at all, so.
You're not suggesting we're replacing trees, but a nice supplement.
Right, exactly.
Great supplement, or places where the trees won't work out really well.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So, and I hadn't really given it a ton of thought until this year, really. So it was like, why are we not doing more of this? So.
And it's a lot more instant gratification too. It goes quicker.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the shrubs that I got them from a case. They were awesome. Beautiful roots. Beautiful. I mean, like really nice. So they weren't very expensive. So anyway.
Easier to plant.
And much easier, right? In a smaller, right?
From experience.
Right, and so there were some kids that did, they did their own little, and they were so proud, and they couldn't have done a tree themselves, they were too little, so it was awesome. It was like, like pulled it out of that.
Mighty big holes on trees.
Right. Yeah, so it was really good. So anyway, so I just wanted to give you guys that update and take any questions or. All right.
Okay, all right, thank you. And then the last report from department.
Yeah, I gave you guys a written report. I don't remember half of what's on it.
What?
I don't remember half of what's on it. No, I gave you guys a written report. So that's it. I can't remember everything I put on there.
It looks like we're going to have the same, I think, an intern that we had last year.
Nope, we will have an intern. It's, her name is Emily. She's coming next week. So thank you for the reminder. Yes, so she is, yes. It's a different person, but it's the same position, which is great. So looking forward to having her.
How many hours a week?
It's 40 actually, so that's kind of nice.
Ooh.
Yeah, exactly. That's great.
Paid or unpaid?
Paid.
Paid.
Yes, yes. So that's a really positive thing. She's and I think she'll be a great addition. I've already got all these projects I'd like her to kind of dig in on. So yes, so thank you for bringing that up. We did hire the intern who will be starting next week, and tree planting should be starting here. I thought we'd start this week, but tree planter had some issues, so hopefully next week we'll be doing the terrace trees. We've got it all staked. Diggers has done their thing, so we're ready for the trees, among other things.
Is there any certain main project that you're going to have her work on?
Probably inventory. Yeah. I think our inventory was fine, but it's from 2013, and at that time they did a great job. But like I said, today we just got 8 extra ash trees that we have to take down that weren't part of our inventory. We got 8 more ash trees that were on our inventory. I didn't realize they were ours, and that's just like, it's just par for the course. But it's like, we should be keeping up with our inventory better to not be surprised by these things.
So you find out about ones like that?
They're dead and dying, and someone calls and says, I think these trees are yours. And I'm like, really? And then you have to do a lot to figure out, like, oh, they actually are ours. They're in the public right away. Okay, great, we'll take them down. Yeah, that's exactly.
You find out because they don't want to do it.
Yes, that's exactly it. You are exactly 100%
Yeah,
right.
I can see
That's
why. It's
exact-
like, I think they're yours.
Yes,
Couldn't you told me when they were alive? Thanks.
right, exactly. You are 100% right on. And sometimes it's like, nope, not ours, but yes, but you are exactly right. It's just like, someone's gonna take these trees down. It's either gonna be, let's see if we can pawn this off in the city. That's exactly how it goes.
Or, but if they were selling the home, it would then be, look at the beautiful trees in my property.
Yeah, right.
You are 100% right on. Yep.
But if they go down, tell them it belongs to the city, so they'll take them down.
No, that's 100% how it goes.
I'm just being,
You're being real.
been around the world a while.
You're right. No, that is
And some people don't realize it until the trees are dying and they go, oh, these aren't ours.
right.
I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt.
Right. Yes.
All
Which
right.
is nice to do.
Any other questions? All right, announcements.
Our next meeting is in June. June, is it 8th? Is it? The 8th, okay.
And I think I'll have to join by Zoom for that one, so.
Next month's gonna be June, it's just weird.
And you probably won't be at that one, right? June 8th.
I'm not sure. I'm back just before that, so we'll see if I can make it. I hope to be there.
Oh, you're so nice.
All right, any other announcements? All right, motion to adjourn?
Second.
Everyone in favor say aye. Aye. All right,
Aye.
meeting is adjourned.